Hello, my name's David, I'm an environment artist, and here we are again in Kingdom Come Deliverance II. It's been a little while, and the wife and I have been steadily playing through it, opening up the world, still on the first map, still not at a wedding. We keep kind of getting up to a point in a quest where it gets a bit difficult. You know, maybe like there's 4 or 5 bandits to sort of deal with, or stuff like that, and so then we kind of move on to a different quest and progress that, and then it feels to me that there's kind of quite a nice sort of quest design in that you've kind of got to level everything up and hop around and do what you can on a quest, and then maybe come back to that, try something new, and go as far as you can with that, and maybe that gets a bit tricky in some way, and then it pushes you to seek out new quests. That's what I'm finding in the sort of gameplay and quest mechanics, and I kind of like that. It sort of has the effect of leaving a lot of quests sort of half done, which maybe some people don't like, but I don't mind that. It's fine because I want to enjoy the richness of all this stuff, and yeah, isn't it lovely? I've got a few things to look at on some of the paths at Trosky, so we're going to have a look at that, but I thought I'd start off at Castle Trosky, this rather cool sort of fortification here, which still exists today in our world, albeit a ruin. But let's head on down, and I think we'll just let Bitterclee, special horse, just slow down, Bitterclee. What's the rush? What's the rush, dude? Come on. We'll just take it easy. There's Troskowitz down there. But oh, look at all that there. Lovely. Apollonian Hills. Cool. And Samine, I think, down there. Getting to know all the sort of landmarks and the places. And yeah, I was talking to someone who raised a very good point about biomes and stuff. And this game is pretty much one biome, isn't it? Which is relatively unusual in today's open world games. Developers want to have, forests, grassland, desert, snow, probably swamp. You got to chuck the kitchen sink at the biome list, haven't you? And whilst that's kind of cool, isn't it? But it does it has implications for your open world that you're creating as a developer. First of all, you've got to have quite a lot of space. You've got to have that padding room between biomes. Because to me, it's not worse than like a really clumsy sort of biome shift. And, you sort of happily wandering through the forests, and then, whoa, I'm in a desert. Oops, look at that. And yeah, it's a little jarring, and so you need to account for that when you're developing the world. It's just one of those practical things that you've got to think about, and biome shifts are not that easy either. You've got to really think about it. How rude. I moved out of the way for that guy as well. Shocking. There's Quarry there. Oh, I wasn't planning this, but I mean, let's just have a little quick look at the old Quarry there. Lovely rocks, aren't they? And of course, quarries require different treatment than your natural rocks. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's just so totally volcanic rock, isn't it? Yeah, it's great. Here in Edinburgh, we have quite a lot of volcanic rock, actually. And in fact, my wall down by the garage is topped with that lovely, bubbly, sort of pumice-like black, slightly obsidian-ish looking volcanic rock, and it's everywhere around here because, of course, this is an ancient volcanic zone, or in Edinburgh. But yeah, 2 distinct types of rock that they've conveyed very well there, I think. And at some point, I'm sure that we'll have a look up there at that. But that's out of the remit of today's moochings. But yeah, nice. There's some little ladders up there as well. That'll be worth an explore. So, back on the path, Bitterclee. There we go. And it's basically going to go left or right. What's he going to do? Where are you going? Ah, you're going that way. Well, that's not the way I want to go, Bittercleat. Sorry. I mean, as inviting as it looks, we're going down this way. Where are we going? Forgotten already. Trosky, that's it. Yeah. But yes, so having a single biome, after my digression of quarries there, isn't it? I digress easily, don't I? Bittercleat, stop it. Bittercleat is fighting me today. What's going on? Come on, come on. Let's just... I'm trying to pat Bittercleat. Why won't I pat? Come on.
Everything all right? Hey?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, also, let's just get off Bittercleat. Because since the last video, I now have my doggy. We finally got Doggy. Let's give Doggy some dried roe deer meat. Here you are. Come on. Come on. Some food there. I've noticed Doggy's not all that smart sometimes. Look at that. Nice roe deer meat rolling down the hill. Are you not hungry, boy? Well, I'm, you know, I'll be hungry later. I'll have that. If you don't want it, I'll have it. But I will praise you.
Silly Mutt.
Exactly, silly Mutt. But very useful little chap. He alerts me to things and is great in a fight. So I appreciate you, Mutt. I do. No, don't sneeze.
Aye, aye.
There we go.
Silly doggy.
Silly doggy. That's right. And Bittercleat, you're all right as well, aren't you? So this is nice, isn't it? We've got a small menagerie of friends along for the ride here. Now, let's just bring up the map and let me show you. Ooh, look at that. A cloud in the sky. Interesting. So we're going to head on down. And yeah, there's some little paths I want to look at. So we'll just saunter down this lovely path. And back to biome chat. Biome chat. Yeah, a single biome. You don't have to faff about with that blends. And that shows in this game, doesn't it? Because they've been able to concentrate on one biome, one landscape type, one set of veg foliage types. You know, so you only need kind of one biome's worth of, you know, all your sort of environmental assets, trees, veg, plants, grass, and rocks and stuff as well. I mean, I was notified by someone who lives in this area, which is wonderful, thank you. And they did say that it's somewhat missing... Oh, look at that. Oh, another digression. Hold that thought. But look at that, isn't that nice? One of these big old massive bits of almost bedrock surfacing up with the earth going in between it there, and it's just poking out, isn't it? And it's, you know, a fairly unique feature along the path that's not overused greatly, but it makes the track just feel more natural and unique. Okay, giddy up, Bittercleat. Down we go. Yeah, lovely to see that. Back to whatever I was going on about. What was I talking about? It will come to me. I must admit, I'm feeling a bit fried today. I'm feeling a little bit, well, I'm finding the world hard to deal with right now. As, well, I guess we all are, aren't we? And I just, yeah, shit, man. I needed to retreat into this for just, you know, half an hour or so, recharge my batteries, and, you know, come back with a renewed vigor to tackle the insanity. So, you know, my brain's not at full capacity. Feels like it really is, actually. You know. But anyway, I was talking about biomes, wasn't I? Biome chat still. Yeah, so it really shows. This game is played to that strength in that they're conveying us one biome, generally. And it offers all that freedom to concentrate. And it's being a master of one trade rather than a jack of all, which a lot of open world games are clearly struggling with in terms of this. You know, I mean, I do remember playing Dragon's Dogma 2, right? And I liked that game. You know, it's a fun game, isn't it? It's yeah, it's got its own vibe, a unique game, and very distinctive. But some of the biome blends, blimey. Did I say biome blends then? I think I might have done. But yeah, I mean, going from east to west, from I can't even remember the names now, but you know, from the main city sort of thing, and then heading over towards that more deserty area. And I think the environment art is really good generally, but man, it's a really jarringly sudden biome shift from that kind of temperate, lush forest sort of environment to the red desert. And I know there's a kind of big gate that you go through, and that helps that shift of biomes because you got a kind of, you know, an artificial break in the landscape that you can travel through. And oh, look, a new biome. But even so, I think the shift is really sudden. If you look at some of the mountains around there, and you know, you're like, 1 minute it's sort of greyish, granity stuff, and then it's like, oh, red. Okay, we're in red land now. So yeah, a little clumsy, I thought. But you know, it's a difficult thing to deal with. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about, you know, just minimizing your biomes. I mean, let's remember that the CryEngine was, you know, tailored for Crisis, wasn't it? And that's pretty much one biome as well. And so, you know, obviously that factored into Warhorse choosing the CryEngine, isn't it? So, right, let's get off the horse, Bitterclee. Just chill out. Just chill out there. Look, there's some nice flowers for Bitterclee. And some chamomile as well. So, you know, how lovely. I love these little old stone piles here. Because these point to history, don't they? Like, you know, I stumbled upon many of these. And in Cumbria, in northwest England, what we call the Lake District, that has got a lot of this stuff, as well as a lot of, you know, maintained dry stone walls. But you often come across stuff like this, which are the remnants of dry stone walls. And, you know, they've been kind of pillaged by villagers for building materials. And, you know, just over time and, you know, the changing of, you know, fields and stuff and what they're doing and changes over time. You know, some walls just kind of aren't needed anymore for whatever reason. And there we go. I just noticed how it looks like the earth is very trampled down here. Now, I hadn't noticed that. I don't think we trample the grass, do we? It's not something I've noticed in the game. Hunter Call of the Wild does an interesting job of that, doesn't it? You can follow the game from the trails they make of the grass and stuff, and you yourself kind of trample it as you walk along. I don't think that's happening here. But yeah, seems like it's been consciously squashed down here, and in here as well, look. A little mini crop circle. Ooh. It's intriguing me. I almost think like there's something here. Is there some little flowers as well, poppies? Nice little detail anyway. But getting distracted as always. But right, this lovely meeting of paths here, which is just as there's the inn at Troskowitz. So I was having a little wander and imagining I was sat under that veranda, maybe having a beer on a warm afternoon, looking up to the castle, and I thought, have a little wander up here, and yeah, there's some things here which are quite instructive in terms of how this stuff's getting made. I wish I could activate a wireframe, but I can't. Oh, doggy's having a dig there. Anything there? Any treasure? No, but yeah, you know, for those of you who know, you know, this is not going to be any news, but there's an awful lot of people who have no idea about, you know, these sorts of things. People who haven't worked in this area or dabbled in 3D or made games of their own or used editors or anything like that. So, you know, bear with us and that when you sort of go, yes, I know this, but a lot of people don't. So, again, I was getting distracted by these rats here. Hello! How you doing? Oh, look at these hopping on. Oh, this is like Ghost of a Tale. Little mouse. Anyway. Let's have a look. I've seen a little bit here. Yes, there we go. Hello, seam in the landscape. So that looks to me very much like the geometry is just not matching up with its opposite. I mean, it could be some weird shader business, but to me that looks very much like this is one template section of trail, and this on the right is another section, and that's how you build up trails. You know, you usually using a template section that you can string along wherever you want it to go in the landscape, and you know, however the tools or however you do that in that particular studio with their tools, you know, it varies. It could be you're able to string them along a spline, or basically a line that you lay out the path with, a wiggly line on the terrain, and then you would loft your template along that spline. Or it might be other ways. So sometimes you do get bits where for whatever reason it's not quite matching up. And I mean, this can be all sorts, just from user error, or I mean, it might have even crept into a template. I mean, I've seen it happen where a template has an error in it, and that template, unless it's been thoroughly checked, that template then gets used on the landscape, and then you end up with a frigging replication of the error in all sorts of places, and it's a nightmare. It's a pain. So you need to be really careful about your templates. You got to like make sure they're bomb-proof before they go out for general usage. You know, maybe that's happened, but I've not seen this anywhere else, so it's probably not that. But it might have been that just the verts got shifted before they got welded together in some way, you know. Or even depending on your engine and depending on where in the world you're working, sometimes you can find that the further away you go from the world origin, i.e. 0, 0, 0 in the coordinates of that 3D world, the further you go away from that, you start to get inaccuracies in the vertex positions. You know, so if you've got like, you know, if you're starting to get fairly big numbers, you can get rounding errors. So that could translate into positional data being a little bit off. So, you know, I'm not saying that's what's happened here. That's just things that can happen sometimes, depending on engine, always, of course. Ooh, nice little puddle. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Probably just a little snapping bit, but there's some other bits. This is quite an interesting little section of trails. You know, I find it quite instructive. So let me find another bit. Here you go. Here's a more obvious section, which is obviously, you know, terrain not snapping up in some way, and you know, we've got stuff overlapping there, but generally the texture, well, I mean, it's matching up here, but you go over here and, you know, the mesh isn't, you know, matching up to its counterpart, and the blending is somewhat different as well in the texture, isn't it? And so you can see it over here. I mean, this could be decals. I mean, it's a bit of a mess here, isn't it? You've got overlapping bits that just aren't meshing, and you know, decals are often used above that. That's another section of a smaller section of mesh above the terrain, which has got some detailing on it, and it's usually transparent around the outside, so it can overlay stuff. And it's great for stuff like potholes, puddles, mud bits, anything that's a little bit different. And you can slap it on top of the terrain. And you know, depending on your game, you know, you can have multiple levels of decals. You know, GTA 5 uses loads of decals, especially on the roads. But around rocky outcrops, things like that, you know, it's a good technique to use, but it can get complicated. If you've got multiple levels of decals and then you need to change the terrain, you've got a lot of decals that are stacked on top of each other, and you've got to make them match back to the terrain. And trust me, if you've got multiple levels of decals intersecting each other, thus Z fighting, you know, flickering, then you're in for a world of trouble sorting that out. Sometimes it's better just to start again, scrap it. But yeah, so that's another little bit there. And there was another portion I remember seeing somewhere. So I was just out for my little stroll. It was a nicer weather when I was doing it. This is starting to soak in, isn't it? Oh, it's getting heavier. No, I quite like this rain. I know someone was complaining about the rain. I mean, looks pretty good to me. I mean, it feels like rain, sounds like rain. It looks like rain. I mean, perhaps there is a sort of slight repeatiness. Ooh, lightning. Cool. The slight repetition. If you take the whole screen and like kind of look at it laterally, maybe fuzz your eyes a little bit. It's quite regular. That would be my criticism of it. But, you know, I hadn't really noticed it until, you know, I actually scrutinised it. And, you know, I think it's alright. I think it's alright. And again, clouds. Clouds has been a criticism of this game. I mean, I think they look fine. I mean, I think they look pretty good. Ooh, lightning. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're getting a lot of fancy volumetric clouds in open world games these days. A lot of fancy cloud tech, especially for games where you can actually get up there and fly, maybe, which, you know, you really need your nice clouds for that sort of stuff. But for a thoroughly ground-based game like this, I think it's fine. I mean, it looks nice to me. You ain't got a problem with that. Right, back up here now. Oh yeah, I remember what I was looking at. So let me just orient myself again. Back down there. And I think I might want a bit of sunlight for this one though. So let there be light. Okay, that's a bit better, a bit brighter. So yeah, here we go. This bit here. And we can follow the geometry as if we had wireframe here. So along here. You can see the shape of the polys going along all the way there. And, I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell. That could be one section actually intersecting this section here. And so the mesh is just going through itself like that. But I think that is a bit that's not been blended. It's not been painted in so that this texture here blends continuously with this texture there. You know, you got different surface types, possibly the edge of one template section another, and they've been stitched in here, and for whatever reason it's not been blended between the two textures along that edge. So moving on over here, this is another little interesting bit. You see there, this shadow, that's just it looks like a poly. Yeah, it's overlapping what's underneath it. So it could be a decal that's not got a transparent edge, or it could just be a bit of dodgy mesh that's folded on itself, something like that. I mean, you can see you see the edge there going from there, just where my cursor is. That sharding there. I mean, you know, terrain doesn't like very long, thin triangles, elongated polygons. You know, it's just, it doesn't handle them well. And but yeah, that looks to me like a bit of geometry sticking up. But again, here we've got a lack of a blend. So it's, I mean, I'm not criticizing the game. I'm just sort of highlighting, you know, how these things can be built. You know, you stitch in these little outcrops into the general terrain here, and into a track template. And sometimes they just get missed, the blends. You know, you can see the edge here that it goes along there, and there's the edge of the polygon. There'll be a vertex there, and it goes up there. And then it does seem to get blended into that. But roadside here, it's kind of got missed off. And so you end up with a sort of seam going on. But here, it's less obvious, but it's still there. You can see it there, can't you? And along there as well. I mean, you know, the shape of geometry is a bit kind of nasty, and you know, see the lighting highlights this sort of stuff up as well. But once we get off here, then this is sort of nicely blended in, and that's working. So, you know, these things, they just get missed every now and again. When you've got a big old place like this, you'd be surprised what gets missed. You know, even fairly obvious stuff, it just gets through the cracks, because you end up with a lot of stuff like that in game development. And yeah, it's not always easy to find it. And now look, you see a bit of Z fighting there. In fact, I saw another bit of Z fighting that was bigger than that. That's quite instructive. If I can find it again, I'm sure it was along here. Look out for some flickering. If you don't know what Z fighting is, it's basically... Oh, there it is. See that? It looks like the Matrix is shifting in and out, doesn't it? Something. But yeah, so that's either a decal or there's two layers of geometry there for whatever reason. And one is lying exactly or almost exactly on top of the other. And so the game engine is checking the Z depth, i.e. from the view into the screen. What's the depth? And the one it hits first is the one that is in front and the one that you should be seeing. But if they're on top of each other, it can't decide which texture to display. And so it does what you call Z fighting. And so it oscillates between one and the other, one and the other. It's a logic error created by a geometric error. So every now and again you see these little things, and that's what it is, flickery textures. And of course, the further away you go from surfaces that are very close to each other, the more likely you're going to get Z fighting. But up close like that, yeah, if they're right on top of each other, it's going to do it. It's just a thing about computer graphics. Mutt having a little toilet break there, aren't you, laddie? Now, are you open to some dried roe deer meat today? Are you just not hungry, laddie? Are you just not hungry? You don't seem that bothered. Do you know, I'm starting to think he's a bit cross with me. I think he might be a bit annoyed for whatever reason. I don't know. Let's check. I have to check. Right, so I go into horse. Look at that lovely UI, isn't it? I love that whole like display as it rotates around. It's brilliant. Mutt's obedience is at 68. I mean, that's all right. We usually maintain it up in the 90s where we can. But I don't see why. I guess he's just not hungry, is he? Well, I'm picking that back up. Damn right. I'm having that. Bit of venison later. Yes. Right. Bitterly. Thank you for your patience. It's been, you know, it's good we've been looking at the trails. Little mouse. Is it a mouse or a rat? Probably a rat. Let us just take the road down here and be very relaxed and make our way into Trosky. Hang on. What did I see then? I was just about to finish up and something caught my eye around here. It looked like, yes, it's the same one, isn't it? Well, it's not the same one because the other one was up there. But it's the same issue with the templates here going on. Yeah. I'm starting to think that that's a decal. And it's not got... the edge has not been alphaed out or, you know, made transparent. Because when you make... Oh, well, Z-Fight. Look, right. Now, interesting. I'm starting to think that... Because I'm seeing repeated errors on this here. I'm starting to think that this might be in the template itself, like I mentioned earlier. And you're getting a duplication of the same error in the template, perhaps. Which, yeah, that's very interesting. And look here, you see that gap there as well. I mean, it could even be a decal that's not been lifted up from the terrain underneath it just slightly. I mean, I'm talking like, you know, 0.01 units. I mean, if you're working in meters in the game world, or, you know, which makes sense, then, you know, you're talking like 0.1 of a centimeter. You know, I mean, like, a millimeter or a few millimeters is enough to just lift it up. So it's when it's sitting exactly on it. I mean, yeah, there's a seam underneath it too. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, understandable. I'm not picking on Warhorse for this at all, but it's instructive and interesting to see, especially when you see repeat phenomena like that. But, you know, trails like this, decals, you know, they work really well because you can have a fairly plain underlying road texture or set of road textures blended and painted in. But then when you want something a bit more unique, you can then apply a decal of a few polys, slap that on, and then, you know, whatever, maybe it's an embedded rock, maybe it's more mud, maybe it's, you know, anything you want. You know, that's not decal, that's an asset. But yeah, so it's the great, you know, decals can be really good and make it look great. Oh, I'm getting really tired, aren't I?
I could use some sleep.
Those particularly stats. Yeah. Oh, I've been working Henry too hard, haven't we? Tell you what, we're gonna go to bed because Henry, me and fine people viewing, you know, we've been very interested in all this lot, and I know we've kept you up. Just keep awake, lad. Just keep awake until we can just get to your straw mattress. This is what I feel like a lot. Yeah. Right, Bessie. Oh no, it's not Betty. Can't remember. I keep calling her Bessie, but I think it's Betty, isn't it? Come on, Bittercleese, get under the shelter here. Oh, good, right. Oh, tired, sleepy tired. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there because Henry's impromptu bed awaits, you know, and he's getting, poor lad. Oh, he's so tired. Yeah, I know how you feel, laddie. But yeah, we'll do that. But I'll leave the video there. And you know, I thought that was fairly interesting with those little phenomena in the trail. And you know, it's interesting. It shows you a little peek into, you know, the construction of it. Yeah. Right though, thanks for watching. I hope that was interesting. And I'll see you again in all sorts of videos. Alright, take it easy. And stay sane. Bye.